Hello children, welcome back to the class. In the previous class, we have learned that science is broadly divided into two. They are physical science and life science. Then we have learned that physical science is again classified into three. They are physics, chemistry and geology. Likewise, biology or life science is classified into two. They are botany and zoology. We have also learned about definitions of science and its branches. Today, let us learn about scientific method. Sometimes we are also following this scientific method. Let us see how is it. For example, if you are seeing your friend is crying, what will you do? You may go and ask the reason for crying, isn't it? After getting reasons, you may think about the solution to solve it. Am I right? That means it is a step-by-step approach or systematic way. That is, here we observed our friend, then asked the reason, then we tried to solve the problem. So we can define scientific method as the systematic way to ask questions and find their answers through observations and experiments. So what is known as scientific method? The systematic way to ask questions and find their answers through observations and experiments is known as scientific method. The steps that followed in the scientific method are identifying the problem, doing background research, developing a hypothesis, experimentation and verification, organizing data, drawing conclusion or putting a theory, and application in technology. These are the 7 steps followed in scientific method. Now let us look into the detailed explanation of each step. First one is identifying the problem. Identifying the problem means selecting the topic to study. The selection of topics sometimes arises from our doubts, curiosity and so on. So, the topics can be in the form of some statement. Then, we have to frame this statement in the form of questions. For example, if you are confused about the reason for formation of shadow, then we can frame this statement in the form of question. That is, why are shadows formed? That's about first step. So in the first step, we are selecting the topic, framing the topic in the form of a question. That's it. Now we are moving to the second step, that is doing background research. Doing background research means the attempt from our side to know more about the topic. Now, how we will be trying? We will be trying by asking questions to teachers or parents or elders, or we will try to collect information from books, internet, etc. For example, now our topic is how shadows are formed. Is it? So we will be doing background research on it by collecting information from books, internet, etc. The third step in scientific method is developing a hypothesis. We can define hypothesis as a probable solution to a problem. What is called a hypothesis? A hypothesis is a probable solution to a problem. Probable solution means the answer which will be suited more. In simple terms, we can say that hypothesis means our guess. Developing a hypothesis means making an assumption or prediction about the topic after collecting information. For example, by inquiring about the reason for formation of shadow, we will reach to our assumption or guess that shadows are formed when an object blocks the path of light. So, in the point developing a hypothesis, we are guessing or we are assuming about the topic and the information we got about our topic. That's it. The fourth point is experimentation and verification. Here, we will be testing our guess or hypothesis and recording the data. For example, now our assumption is that shadows are formed when an object blocks the path of light. Then, for testing it, we have to do an experiment. For that, we need a torch or bulb, a white sheet or cardboard, or a wall, and a plastic ball or any other object. Suspend the ball through a string and place the cardboard behind it to act as a screen. You can view it here. Flash the bulb on the ball such that its shadow is formed on the cardboard. Here you can see the shadow of ball. Repeat the activity by replacing the ball with different objects such as marble, a plastic ruler, a piece of glass, a pencil, a coin, etc. Then we have to observe and note down the formation of shadow of different objects. This is what coming under the step experimentation and verification. Now let us do the experiment with available things. Here you can see a glass jar and there is no shadow. Now we can replace it by using a plastic bowl. Yes, here we can see a dim or partial or light shadow of the ball on the screen. Then let us keep a mug. Here we can see a dark shadow of the mug, is it? This is how you have to do experiments on shadows. Even you can try by using various things. The fifth step is organizing data. Organizing data means we will be forming a table to note down our findings. That means we are recording the results we got after doing experiment. For example, in the above experiment, we observed formation of shadows of different objects. Is it? For recording that observation, we can form a table like this. So, we have observed the shadows of a glass jar, plastic bowl and mug. So, under the objects we can list it there, and what kind of shadow we observed, that also we can note down there. So, let's see. First of all, we have placed a glass jar. When we placed a glass jar, we observed that the light is passing through the glass jar, so we were not able to see any shadow. So the kind of shadow formation is no shadow. Next one is a plastic bowl. There we observed a dim shadow or light shadow. The next one is a mug. There we have observed a dark shadow. So this is what do you mean by organizing data. We are recording our observations and results. The sixth point is drawing conclusion or putting a theory. Drawing conclusion means that we are summarizing our observations that we noted in the table. For example, we got a complete shadow of some objects like plastic bowl and mug. And we know These plastic bowl and mug are the objects which do not allow light to pass through them. And the objects which do not allow light to pass through them are called opaque objects. So we come to a conclusion that opaque objects produce clear shadow. Likewise, we got a partial or dim shadow of plastic bowl. And this plastic bowl passes partial amount of light through it. So it is a translucent object. Therefore, we came to a conclusion that translucent objects produce dim or partial shadow. Then we have used a glass jar. And in the case of glass jar, we haven't got any shadow. It transmitted all the light through it. So, we will say that any object which will transfer the complete amount of light through it, they are called transparent object. So, we come to a conclusion that transparent objects will not produce any shadow. Therefore, the three conclusions we reached are: first one is the opaque objects produce clear shadow, translucent objects produce dim or partial shadow, and the transparent objects will not produce any shadow. The seventh point is application in technology. That means we have to make use of our knowledge in daily life. Technology deals with using scientific theories or principles to make things that can do useful job for us. So, how will you define technology? Technology deals with using scientific theories or principles to make things that can do useful job for us. For example, the shadow of umbrella protects us from sunlight. The X-ray images of teeth, bones, etc. are shadows made by a kind of light that goes through most things. This is how we have to use the application in technology. Here we have used the application of shadows in technology. Scientists use this scientific method in their work. Even we are using this in our day-to-day life to solve simple problems. In today's class, we have learned definition of scientific method, different steps involved in scientific method. Then we have learned the purpose of using scientific method. Now, what is the purpose of using scientific method? Scientists use the scientific method in their work. We can use the method to solve simple problems in our day-to-day life. That's the answer. Then we have learned the definition of hypothesis. Homework for the day. Read page number 4 of the textbook. Learn 4 question answers mentioned in summary part of the video. That's all for today. Thank you and have a nice day. See you again. Bye.